Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Should Have Gone Pro podcast. Welcome back. Hope everyone's been doing well. We got a fun one for you guys today. We are doing our NFL mock draft. We're doing the first half of the first round. I feel like it'd take forever if we did the whole first round, so we're just going to do the first half. We're going to alternate picks in this one. We're not going to each have our own separate ones like some of our other stuff, so might be a little bit of us fighting for for players in this one. This could be fun. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA as well. Obviously, there's some stuff going down with the first round of the playoffs and some of the series wrapping up. But, yeah, happy to be back. Brock, how you feeling?
I'm good. Yeah, like I said, I'm a little disappointed in the effort that the Bulls showed in games 3 and 4. But whatever. It was the fact that they got a game exceeded my expectations. So yeah, excited. The NFL draft is always exciting. It's going to be interesting to see where the first big domino falls and the first shocking move that we have made. But yeah, no, it's a good little week. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. MLB obviously still getting into the swing of things, and then the NFL draft is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think we jumped a little bit too far when we made our Bulls predictions last episode, but it's been awfully disappointing, and Levine's out tonight too, so I think it's
and Caruso.
Yeah, Caruso. Yeah, so I think that's over. But yeah, nonetheless, the big news, obviously, with the NBA stuff is the Nets getting swept with KD and Kyrie team getting swept. This doesn't seem like it is realistic, but it's what happened. It's crazy to think about. The Celtics team, I think, is scary good. I think they're the best team in the East right now, especially since Middleton went down and the Heat have had a little bit of injuries here and there. I think that this Celtics team is the best team in the East right now, and the Nets just, again, like we were saying in the last episode, just no defense. We gave them 1 or 2 games when we were making our predictions last episode, and I guess it was a bad idea because they kept all the games close, but they just couldn't stop the Celtics on offense. And then the Celtics had this great defensive scheme to stop Kevin Durant and Kyrie. So, yeah, it was a great series by Boston. I think that they match up super well against the Bucks team, assuming that they win tonight, and it'll be a great series. And the other one that's already finished is the Heat beat the Hawks in 5. I think I might have said 5, and you think you said 6 in that one. So I mean, pretty close.
I think I picked 4.
Picked 4. Okay.
Yeah, I still thought sweep, but I mean, I wasn't too far off. I thought Miami was obviously far and away the better team.
Yeah, and Trae Young just had an awful series, so
really bad.
This Hawks team just needs to regroup, maybe get another piece or two, maybe make some swings for some trades, and come back next year because they definitely have a good core going there. But yeah, so those are the 2 that kind of wrapped up, and then there's been some interesting series as well in the West. With Booker getting hurt, it's 3-2 Suns now, but that Pelicans team is feisty, man. They are a really good young team. And then if you add Zion in the mix, who's already been an all-star, if you can stay healthy, that team's going to be good. Minnesota just barely lost last night to Memphis. Memphis took a 3-2 lead in that series. I was pulling for Minnesota, man. It would have been a fun story for that franchise who hasn't really won much. But it's not over yet, though. I'm looking forward to the Game 6 in that one. And then the Dallas just absolutely crushed Utah, take a 3-2 lead, and then the Warriors are about to win, up 3-1 against the Nuggets. So, what are some of your general reactions about some of these series, and some stuff that you've seen so far that stood out to you?
Well, I've got 2, one in the East, one in the West. I think the Minnesota-Memphis series has been. It's gonna be tough for Minnesota fans to think about it this way, but you're gaining valuable experience, even in the 2 losses that you have had when you've blown the double-digit leads in the second half, particularly the fourth quarter. I mean, John Morant went absolutely nuclear last night. That dunk he had on Malik Beasley, I thought that really got Memphis' crowd back into the game. and gave them something to cheer for.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you how deep Memphis is. Jaren Jackson Jr. fouled out. I think he only played 18 minutes last night. And they brought Brandon Clark off the bench, who was kind of seen as a project coming out of Gonzaga. I don't know if you ever saw a video of the jump shot he had. I think it was at San Diego or San Jose State before Gonzaga. It was gross. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, geez.
And he came off the bench last night, 20 and 15, and had some really big plays and offensive rebounds down the stretch that got Memphis some buckets. But, yeah, I mean, Minnesota, just a tough 2 games because, I mean, they would be in control. They would have won this series by now if they just wouldn't have shot themselves in the foot. But it really is valuable postseason experience. They're going to learn how to close out a game, you hope, in the future, and what not to do. And then just on Memphis' side, I think, if they obviously do survive and advance and they end up playing Golden State, who we both think is going to win, they've got to play a lot better. Golden State's not Minnesota. They've been here before. And if Golden State gets Memphis down 10, 15, 20 points in the second half, it's going to be over. They'll win by 40. Mm-hmm. And Memphis has got to start playing a lot better. They can't rely on Ja Morant going crazy and bringing him back against Golden State because Golden State's just too experienced, and they've been in this spot thousands of times before. So
especially
Memphis
defensively.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, no one on Minnesota's team can do what Draymond Green can do on any of their for anybody for that matter. And I mean, Klay Thompson too. He's starting to get his feet back under him. So Memphis is going to have their hands full with Golden State. But I've been impressed with what I've seen with Memphis. Those second half comebacks are certainly shows their heart and that they're going to be a really good team in the near future. But I think they have to start playing a whole lot better for all 4 quarters if they want to give Golden State a real challenge. And then moving over to the Eastern Conference side, I'm mad I kind of went against my original pick, but the Philadelphia 76ers Toronto Raptors series is pretty crazy. And I mean, me and Eric were talking about it yesterday. I think in the original video I picked Toronto to win in 7, and then I flipped it for Philadelphia to win in 4 or 5 games after they went up 3-0. And credit to Toronto. I mean, to win these 2 games without Fred VanVleet for most of, or at least a little bit of the first of Game 4, and then all of Game 5. Now you have the series back at home. It feels like all the pressure is on Philadelphia here, even though Toronto's down 3-2. And it's just, again, the same problem with not only Philadelphia, but with Joel Embiid. I think, Doc Rivers is the coach. I think he's blown the most ever 3-1 series lead in NBA history. Coach, he did it with the Clippers against the Nuggets, and I think he did it with the Celtics. I can't remember, but I mean, Philadelphia was up 3-0 in this series, and they have just came out and put together 2 duds back-to-back. And James Harden has still not shown us anything in this playoff series. He was out after the game. He said they asked him what he about his offensive. I don't know if we want to say struggles, but I mean, he only took 11 shots and he made like 4 of them. And it's not even like he was getting his teammates involved. He had 7 assists and 5 turnovers. So I mean, he was almost helping the other team as much as he was helping Philadelphia. And then I know Joel Embiid's a great player, and he deserves to win MVP this year, and I mean, rightfully so. A really good player, but at some point, I think you have to realize it feels like every single postseason there's something this guy has wrong with him. Last year he hurt his meniscus in the Wizards series, and although it didn't hurt him in the Wizards series, it affected him in the Hawks series. And now this year he's got the thumb injury, and it's hurting him. I mean, you can see him shaking his thumb. I mean, he's not gotten back on defense a couple of times, but it's gotten hit. And it's a problem. I mean, it's going to affect the way he plays in Philadelphia. If James Harden's not playing like the James Harden we know is capable of playing, and Joel Embiid's struggling, who can Philadelphia go to? I mean, you can lean on Tyrese Maxey, you can lean on Tobias Harris, but Tyrese Maxey's still a young guy. He hasn't really had the postseason experience yet. And Tobias Harris, I mean, I think they should have let him go and re-sign Jimmy Butler in the first place 2 or 3 off seasons ago. So that's neither here nor there. But I just feel like Philadelphia is in a lot of trouble. And if they lose Game 6 in Toronto, which I think they will, I think this is going to go 7 games now. I'm reverting back to my first pick, and all the pressure is going to be on Philadelphia. And even at home, I mean, you know those Philadelphia fans, they were booing them in game 5 at halftime. Can you imagine what it's going to be like Game 7? You've blown a 3-0 series lead. You've had 3 chances to close it out. One of them at home. You come back home. You put together another dud in the first half. Those fans are going to be irate, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we've seen James Harden crumble under the pressure multiple times before, and I think it happens again. I mean, I liked Philadelphia, what they were doing the first 3 games, but since then they have looked nowhere near what they're capable of, and I fear another first-round exit for Philadelphia once again this postseason.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe how quickly it changed for Philly. The momentum shouldn't have changed like that at all. I mean, 3-0, you should just be able to take advantage of the situation and just close it out. And Raptors team, I mean, yeah, give credit to them for fighting through all this. And the fact that now that there's a Game 6 in Toronto, where they can go and win on their home floor and then force a Game 7 where all momentum is on Toronto's side, with the beat up Joel Embiid and just a horrible James Harden. It almost makes you believe that it's legit going to happen, that we're going to see a 3-0 collapse. If that happens, Dr. Rivers should be fired and never have another job ever again. I mean, I never trusted him in the first place after all the stuff that he's done, and it's just insane to think about. And I feel like I got to give credit to this Toronto team though for fighting through all this and causing the James Harden to have some offensive struggles and shutting down some of the key role players like Maxey and stuff like that. So absolutely crazy, but I'm definitely looking forward to Game 6. I think it's tonight, isn't it? So, or tomorrow.
Let's see. But I want to add, no, tonight's Chicago, Milwaukee, Golden State, and the Nuggets. But I want to add one more thing about that Memphis Grizzlies, the Memphis Minnesota game. You kind of see the highs and the lows of the postseason. Anthony Edwards on one end of the floor hits that ridiculous 3 out of the inbounds, which Memphis probably should have fouled, but whatever, they didn't, and they made their bed and they still won the game. But Anthony Edwards with a great 3 on one end to tie the game, and then just a really boneheaded mistake on the defensive end going for that steal. I don't know what he was thinking. I get it. But I mean, you gamble on that play in the first or second quarter. You don't gamble on that in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. It's tied. No. There was no reason for that. You're bigger than John Morant. I mean, I would say they match up in terms of athleticism, quickness, all that they can do. As players, I would say they match up pretty well. Take your chance. Make him hit a shot over you. Don't give him a free lane to the rim. And I mean, it was a great shot by Ja going left with his left hand around a defender, but that's what he does. And it's just really bad mental mistake by Edwards that ended up. I don't want to say it ended up costing him the game because Minnesota shot themselves in the foot 17 times. They had 23 turnovers last night. You don't deserve to win a playoff game like that. And I mean, I was watching the Inside the NBA afterwards, which that shows incredible. The video they had of the Nets on the bus was hilarious. Like the
yeah.
1-2-3 Cancun, but you just can't. Shaquille O'Neal says, "Has your coach ever told you didn't deserve to win that game?" And Kenny Smith goes, "After a win," and Shaq goes, "No, after a loss." It's like they didn't deserve to win the game. He goes, "You had 23 turnovers, and they just have not done what they needed to do this series to close out the games." Because I mean, they played Memphis super tough. And they would have won the series by now. If you take back those 2 games that they blew, and I mean, it would be a lot different narrative right now. But they've just been unable to close, and it's going to be a valuable experience for Minnesota. I mean, this team's going to be right back there next season. So it's just it's tough to see young teams struggle like that. But out of the fire comes the phoenix, they say. So I mean, it's going to be they'll be back and they'll learn from this and. They'll next year. This won't be the narrative. They'll figure out how to close these games and that's the difference. They just haven't been able to execute down the stretch and play well when they needed to. And it's cost them 2 games in the series. And it's cost them the series.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that the biggest thing that they've been lacking is just the inexperience, because the experienced teams, like, you would never see the Warriors had these kind of mistakes. You would never see the Suns had these kind of mistakes. And I think Memphis really got a lot of value out of them being the 8 seed last year in the playoffs, and having
Whole
those
game in Utah.
games to kind of get that. Yeah, they won their first game against Utah, and getting that experience for that really young group has helped them a ton to just kind of outsmart the Minnesota team in different ways. And you notice too, when Cat is aggressive, this team plays much better. And the game that they got blown out in, Cat just wasn't shooting the ball at all. So when Cat's aggressive, this team plays much better. But yeah, I think you give them another year or two, like I've been saying, and they're going to be much better and a legit contender in the next couple of years if things go right. But yeah, why don't we hop into this this NFL mock draft situation? You said you want the evens or the odds?
I'll do evens.
You'll do
I'll do
evens. All right, so you better not mess up my lines.
I'll find out.
Well, yeah. So we're gonna do alternating picks here. Into the first 16. I don't think we're gonna do any trades because it gets a little complicated. So we're just gonna do it straight up as if everyone stays the same, although that usually doesn't happen. And yeah, go from there. So, a lot has changed with this first overall pick situation as of recently, and I'm buying into what I'm hearing. So, with the first pick in the 2022 Should Have Gone Pro mock draft, NFL mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker. And I've heard a lot about the Jaguars loving this guy. I've heard that they love the intangibles about him. He didn't necessarily put up the crazy numbers like Hutchinson or Thibodeau have, but the intangibles and just the athleticism this guy has and the upside is what the Jacksonville Jaguars are loving about him. I think that the Jaguars are gonna buy into the system, knowing that they're not gonna be able to be a contender right away, and they're gonna say this guy could be one of the best DNs down the line. So Trayvon Walker first to the Jacksonville Jaguars is the pick in our alternating mock draft.
Yeah. So I've got the Lions here. Boy, a lot of team needs on the board there. Don't worry,
Yeah.
my Bears are right up there too. But I think the Lions are in the best possible spot. I think they take whoever Jacksonville doesn't take. So in this case, I think they take Aiden Hutchinson, local kid. I think Dan Campbell's going to love him. He's going to add. He's going to add to that defense. I don't know. I think the Lions up front were a lot better than people gave him credit for last year. More of the secondary that caused them a lot of problems. And but no, I think Dan Campbell would love to have a player like Aiden Hutchinson added to that defense, and I think they're in a really good spot to, just like I said, take whoever Jacksonville decides not to take.
Yeah, and I've heard that the Lions have been moving away from Thibodeau. They're worried about his some of the intangibles about him, and Hutchinson just fits Dan Campbell's scheme too well. So I think that if Trayvon Walker's picked first, the Lions are sprinting to the desk to turn in Aiden Hutchinson number 2. But number 3 is so those first 2, I feel like a lot of people kind of have that feeling about. And number 3, obviously, with the Texans needing a ton of help, I feel like I'm gonna lean. This might be a little bit of an iffy pick, but I'm picking Sauce Gardner at number 3 to the Texans, and I feel like the Texans are just looking for a guy that they can really build around. And Sauce Gardner, I think, is the best corner in this draft. And I feel like I'm not a huge fan usually of taking DBs this high in the draft, but I feel like the Texans do it. They don't necessarily have a QB that they need to protect, so I don't feel like they're going to take Neal or Icky yet. And there's been some concerns about Thibodeau that making him fall down the draft a little bit, some injury issues as well. So I think they're going to take Sauce Gardner at 3 and maybe surprise some people a little bit with that one.
So you're telling me you weren't a fan of Jeff Okudah?
Oh, don't get me started on that. I saw you laugh when I mentioned corners at 3. I knew you were thinking of Okudah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Okudah. I think he's a giant bust. But moving on.
I like Sauce to the Texans at 3. I saw the one today on ESPN had Stingley from LSU. But I just think, I mean, there people are saying that Sauce Gardner could be the most complete prospect in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the pick of Gardner at 3 to the Texans. I think the Jets would be pretty upset the Jets would be glad he would be there for him at 4, but he's not. So for the Jets at 4, wow, I don't like Thibodeau here. I'm going to go Evan Neal, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. I think you can always use offensive line help. The guy that the Jets drafted 2 or 3 years ago, Becton, was a little banged up last year. The Jets' offensive line still is not complete. I think they need to give Zach Wilson the best possible chance to succeed in this league, and you can never have too many good offensive linemen. And they have another pick in the top 10, so I think they can go get that receiver another position of need. But I think at this point, I think Neal's probably the best player available that fits their needs. So I've got Evan Neal to the Jets at 4.
All right. Well, I'm riding the offensive tackle wave here. I think that's a good pick for the Jets if they're going to try and build around Zach Wilson. And I think for the Giants right now, their best player when healthy is Saquon, and their key to keeping him healthy is keeping him giving him some good run blocking. So I think they're going to take Ekwonu from NC State. I've heard a lot of people very high on this guy. Him and Evan Neal, I feel like, are pretty similar up there at the top of the boards. This guy's just an athletic freak who's going to give some much needed help to that Giants O-line who's been struggling for many years now. So, yeah, I've got Icky going 5 to the Giants.
All right. Well, I think this is where I think this is an interesting pick. I was telling Eric before the thing, I think Carolina could very well look to move up in the draft to maybe get a quarterback. I think they're a prime trade partner. I actually have them going. I think this is where they get their quarterback here. I think they've just been linked to him all off season, and I cannot believe, just looking at this, that Desmond Ritter's rated higher than Kenny Pickett. That's crazy to me. But anyway, Matt Rule fighting for his job. He really swung and missed with the Sam Darnold trade, and now they committed to him for his 5th year. I like Malik Willis here from Liberty. I know Kenny Pickett was recruited by Matt Rule when he was at Temple. Obviously, Kenny Pickett flipped and went to Pitt. But anyway, I think Malik Willis has the most potential out of any of these kids in the draft of the quarterbacks. I feel like, again, I would kind of comp him to Trey Lance from North Dakota State. Came from a small school and was kind of seen as a project, and they don't need him to start right away. That's why I wanted to go Pickett, just because I think Pickett's more NFL ready right now. But I think you can give Malik Willis a couple weeks, give Sam Darnold at least a little bit of time to see what he can do, and if he's lived up to that high draft status. And then, I mean, if you're in week 4 or 5 or 6, and Darnold's still not getting it done, I think you let Willis go out there and see what you've got. But I think that's when the first quarterback goes, is Carolina at 6, at least in the should have gone pro, not expert mock draft.
Yeah, I think Malik Willis will be the first quarterback taken as well, and I like that fit on the Panthers. It'll allow him to kind of play to his abilities. I feel like he's not going to be rushed into a win-now situation in Carolina, which is another good thing, and I think he'll have the time to develop really well there. again, I think he has all the tools, but he just needs a year or two to kind of get stuff under control. But he definitely has the ability there to take off. So I think I have the other Giants pick now. I'm picking for the Giants twice here, and I think the Giants are over the moon if Kayvon is still here at 7. So I think it's a pretty easy pick for them if Kayvon drops that low. Again, the Giants need a lot of things. So just getting some guys that can go out there and make some plays is going to help them down the road. So I think Thibodeau is a pretty good pick for the Giants at 7. It's crazy how far he dropped some of these boards compared to where he was a few months ago, where everyone thought he was locked in number 1 even before last year's season. So, but yeah, Kayvon at 7, I feel like the Giants are super happy about that and feel like it's a good piece moving forward. So, especially if they're not trying to win right now. So,
Falcons at 8. I think they would have ideally liked to have taken Kip Thibodeau if he was still available, but in this one he's not. I think they need to go wide receiver. I can't even pronounce. I think it's like Zacharias or something. That's the only receiver right now on their depth chart because Riley Ridley, we all know what happened with him. So I think they go receiver here. I personally like Drake London out of USC. But I think they go Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I don't really know a whole lot about Garrett Wilson, if I'm being honest. But I think obviously there's a reason he's the best wide receiver in this class. Good route runner, and I mean Ohio State's been churning out really good NFL talent at the receiver position for years and years. So I think you could just kind of go on pedigree. I mean he's a good player. Ohio State had another really good year this year. And that been the quarterback they've got now coming out next year. The teams are going to be lined up to draft him or Bryce Young. So, yeah, I got Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick for them as well. I've heard some rumors about them looking at quarterbacks, especially since they traded away Matt Ryan. But I think you go with a safer pick there that you can that you know is going to be there for the long term, and I think Wilson's a good pick. 9 with the Seahawks is interesting because they've been blowing their team up. And I feel like here you're thinking about taking a risk on a guy because you just blew everything up. Obviously, you're not expecting to win now in that tough division. So I think you're willing to take a risk, and if it pays off well. And I think you go Jermaine Johnson here from Florida State. A little bit of a surprise pick, but I think that the Seahawks are going to want to take a little bit more of a risk on a guy who's been doing had some great workouts. I believe he played in the Senior Bowl and played great. So I think they take a little bit of a risk on a guy to see if he can pan out to be at the level of Thibodeau, Walker, and Hutchinson, and get one of those guys that can provide you some good pass rushing for the future, because this Seahawks team needs a lot of help. So a little bit of a jump there. I think that might be one of the more surprising picks in the first couple picks of the draft, but I think Jermaine Johnson is who the Seahawks are going to pick.
Man, this is tough. I did not expect Stingley Jr. to be on the board here for the Jets. I went offense with Neal in their first pick at 4, and I'm torn here. I think they could go Drake. I'm just going to go with my gut. Give me Drake London at USC. I think they need a receiver. He's a big body, 6'5", red zone threat. Like I said, they need help all over the board. But I think if you have a guy like that available at the 10th overall pick in Drake London, who is a red zone threat, who's going to give Zach Wilson just another target to throw it to, I think you can't pass it up. It wouldn't shock me, though, if they went Stingley Jr. Their secondary was so bad last year. And I think that's one of those picks that could go either way, but it'll be interesting. And like I said, I think some people have Stingley going off the board before Sauce Gardner just on what he did in his freshman season at LSU alone. But that's such a tough pick. I didn't even realize that was coming to me down the line. But I think that's one where they could go either way. But I mean, it's an offensive league, so I'm going to lean more towards Drake London out of USC.
Yeah, I've heard the Jets liking London for being a big body receiver, a guy that Zach Wilson can chuck the ball up to and hope he comes down with it. So I'm definitely on board with that one as well. And I think the Washington Commanders are dancing in their draft room right now, seeing Stingley at 11. I think that they definitely need some help in that secondary to kind of beef it up. I think they would have liked to take a receiver there. But knowing that they just got Carson Wentz, and that kind of means that you're kind of buying into this team now to get better and improve. I think you're not willing to take Jameson Williams, who would be more of a risk due to that injury. So I think you take Derek Stingley here, who's more of a surefire prospect than Williams, and lock down that secondary some more that need some help in Washington. So Stingley at 11.
Yeah, and got the Vikings here at 12. And it just so happens it works out perfect. What's their top position of need? Safety, who's still on the board. I mean, that was crazy. Coming into this draft, people thought that he was going to go top 5. Kyle Hamilton, Notre Dame. I think Minnesota would be thrilled here to get him at 12. Also interesting to note, I think for Minnesota, the interior defensive line is also a position of need. Look out for Jordan Davis. I still think it's too high for him. I mean, he put on a really good show at the Combine and obviously was one of the focal points of that great Georgia defense this year. But he's just a big guy. I think the concern is, can he play all three downs in the NFL, or is he just going to be a guy where you can put him in there for select downs? He's not going to be able to play every snap or as many as you'd like. So I think that's why I lean toward Kyle Hamilton here. But I definitely think Jordan Davis could be a name to watch out for to the Vikings at 12.
Yeah, I see a lot of Harrison Smith and Kyle Hamilton. I think that'd be a great kind of mentor for him to kind of fill that role once Harrison Smith gets older and moves on. But I like that pick a lot. At 13 here with the Texans, again, they need help pretty much everywhere. And I feel like they would be happy taking they took Sauce Gardner with their first pick here, and I think they're going to take Jameson Williams, and I think that they're willing to buy into the upside of Jameson Williams if he's able to fully come back from his injury and live up to the end of that season that he had with Bama, which was fantastic. I think that they're willing to buy into that, knowing that they're years away from being competitive. And I think it's too high for them to want to take a quarterback right now with so many needs on their team. So I think they take the gamble on Jameson Williams and see if it pays off for them because they have so much time to take those risks. So,
and here for Baltimore, I think they'd be ecstatic if Charles Cross was still available from Mississippi State. Like I was saying, I mean, Baltimore's a really good team. And I feel like for some of those positions that they needed, like the cornerback and the interior offensive line and the interior defensive line, I feel like those are more just for as good as a team as Baltimore is. I feel like those are picks you can address later on in the draft and just kind of give you some more depth because they were just ravished by injuries last year all over their roster. I mean, on the offensive line, Ronnie Stanley was hurt a lot of last year. Baltimore was just really banged up. And I mean, I think they're shouting in excitement if Charles Cross, who the third or fourth best offensive lineman, is still available to them at 14. And I think they sprint to the stage to turn that pick in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because Lamar Jackson, even though he's a big scrambler, he needs some protection help back there, so he doesn't have to. He's not required to scramble. You can just do it when he needs to. So. The Eagles have this pick and the 18th pick, so they have two picks pretty close to each other. So I think they're going to try and take a more surefire pick here. I think they're going to take. This is tough because we're getting down to this point now where it gets a little more picky. Some of the playoff teams now. I think they're going to try and protect Jalen Hurts. I think they're going to take Zion Johnson. I feel like it's could be a little bit more of a long-term pick, with some of their O-line getting older. And I think that Zion Johnson can beef it up a little bit because the run game showed some promise last year. Jalen Hurts has showed some promise. So I think you want to give Jalen Hurts, as a young QB trying to figure it all out, give him the time in the pocket he needs. So Zion Johnson is my pick at 15 for the Eagles. Not an exciting one, but one that they need. So,
Man, this is a tough one here. I could see the Saints going a number of different ways. I still feel like the wide receiver boom happens after New Orleans picks for some reason. I think more of them go after they pick. I'm gonna go for a swing here. I think New Orleans drafts Kenny Pickett from
I
Pitt.
was thinking the same exact thing.
I think they do. I think this is when he goes. I mean, yeah. Jameis Winston looked okay at times last year before he tore up his knee, but I mean he's still not shown that he was worthy of that what was it, the number 2 pick in the draft.
He was one. Mario was two. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean he still hasn't shown that he's lived up to that number 1 draft status. So I think New Orleans could. I think that's where Pickett goes off the board. I like that fit. And I think New Orleans would be really happy to get Kenny Pickett. I mean, a lot of people said that when they traded with the Eagles to get that pick at 16, a lot of teams trade into the first round or get an additional pick in the first round to get a quarterback. And I think that's what they do here at 16.
Yeah,
let's just finish the first round. I'm having fun. Let's get the rest of the first round out of here.
I was gonna say the exact same thing, bro. I was gonna say this. This is fun, and I like this alternating thing. We're kind of playing with each other's picks, so it's fun. Fuck it, let's just finish the first round. And I was about to say I like Pickett. I feel like he fits the scheme well in New Orleans, and I think he has proven more in last year than Ritter did. So, yeah, let's keep it moving. Why not? Let's just do the first round. So at pick 17, I'm leaning either two ways, either Jordan Davis or Penning, and I feel like Penning is a lot more of a risk. Coming from Northern Iowa, I have not been high on him with his draft prospect or his process personally. I think they take Jordan Davis here, who's a lot more surefire pick and will provide some push up the middle that will cause you more havoc with Bosa and Mack coming off the edge. It's just going to be a terrifying defensive front four for opponents. I think the Chargers take Jordan Davis here, and they're happy that this fantastic Georgia guy dropped this low. Also, I'm going to go grab my Charger real quick. You can make your 18th pick. I'm still listening.
All right. So back to the Eagles here, who just picked at 15. Went Zion Johnson, the interior offensive lineman from Boston College. Looking at their top needs: cornerback, edge, wide receiver. I think their defense. I think they're honestly. I think they're pretty set. Not really set at wide receiver, but I like what they've built. Their wide receiver corps around Devontae Smith. Obviously, Jalen Reagor's been a big letdown. But I think they go defense with this pick, and they take the Trent McDuffie, the cornerback out of Washington. I think it's just a bigger need. Philadelphia's secondary left a lot to be desired last year, and I thought you really saw that in the playoff game against Tampa Bay. Tom Brady picked their secondary apart, so I think they get the best available corner in McDuffie out of Washington.
Yeah, I like that pick as well for them, and they desperately need some defensive back help on that team. Looking at New Orleans here at 19, I think they're going to think this philosophy of we're getting the quarterback, we want to get his partner in crime for the future. They can build up that chemistry over these first couple of years until we start getting really into contention. I think they take Chris Olave here. Definitely a proven prospect, and with all the time he spent at Ohio State, and I think he's going to fit in well with New Orleans system. I know he's got that good combination of speed and verticality. So I think Pickett and Olave are that fun duo that Saints are looking for to kind of build their passing game around for the future. So Olave at 19 of the Saints.
Man, this is brutal. I think Pittsburgh is another one of those teams that they're sitting at 20. That's where the Bears were sitting last year. I could see them again being a team that could look to move up in the draft and go select the quarterback. But in ours, they don't. Obviously, we're not doing trades, so they're stuck at 20. Pickett and Willis are off the board. I think 20 is probably too high for Desmond Ridder. I'm going to go Daxton Hill, the safety from Michigan. I think the Steelers lean defense here here at 20 get the best safety available in Daxton Hill from Michigan and just continue to bolster that really good defense that Pittsburgh seems to have year in and year out.
That's what I was going to take at 21. So now I got to rethink it a little bit. I thought you were going to take Ridder for sure, but because I've heard they've been really high on Ridder, but I don't know how it's going to go down tomorrow. The Patriots, they definitely have something building there. And with a lot of these receivers off the board, that kind of hurts them a little bit. Yeah, this is a tough one. Let me see. I think they're gonna go with what some people say is the best linebacker in this draft, Devin Lloyd. Their linebacker core has been getting older and banged up, and Devin Lloyd's gonna help provide some of that leadership on the defense as well as some of that edge rushing. He's a complete player. I think he fits in well to Belichick and his system out there. And he just seems like he would be a Belichick kind of guy on that defense. So I think Devin Lloyd here, I think the Patriots are happy with him dropping this low and end up taking Devin Lloyd at 21.
Does Green Bay finally break the streak of not drafting a wide receiver in the first round? I think they do. But I mean, they had 2 picks in the first round, so I don't think they do it with this pick, however. Looking at the board, wide receiver, edge, offensive tackle, I think they would be happy to get Trevor Penning. However, they lost one of the Smiths in the offseason. I think they go George. If he's still here, give me George Karlaftis out of Purdue, the edge rusher, to help. I know Green Bay fans. Another, but listen, your wide receiver selection will be coming at 28. I promise. But I think here they help that defense that Aaron Rodgers seems to always complain about. And they get a really good edge rusher here from Purdue and George Karlaftis, who a little bit, I mean, like Giannis from Greece. So maybe the Greek freak of the NFL.
Yeah, in the same state too, and yeah, I was gonna say, what doesn't Aaron Rodgers complain about? But yeah, that's a good point too. 23 to the Cardinals. I feel like I was leaning Karlaftis for them too, because they lost Chandler Jones. Next guy up is Boye Mafe, but I don't think they're going to reach that low yet. I think they're going to go Elam out of Florida. They desperately need corner help, and I think this is where they might take a little bit of a swing on this guy. They have Byron Murphy. They have Budda Baker, Isaiah Simmons. So they're building a good defense there. And I think they're willing to take a gamble on this corner to see if he pops off. And if he doesn't, then they'll have to reassess the situation a little bit. But the Cardinals had some problems getting burned in the secondary last year. And obviously in the playoff game, the Rams just burnt them alive. So I think Elam there, if anything, is depth. But I think he has opportunity to step up and be a good corner for Arizona.
Oh, America's team, so-called the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're, losing Amari Cooper obviously hurt them. what was the edge rusher they lost? I can't remember his name. It's at the tip of my tongue. He signed with Denver.
Gregory.
Yeah, Brandy Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they need help on the offensive line. I think you have to, they're at their best when they're not penning. However, I think they go Kenyon Green with Texas A&M. I think they have to, when Dallas was at their best, Ezekiel Elliott was doing what Ezekiel Elliott did and got the big contract for. Has not been doing that the last couple of years, and when you can have that dual threat offense with Dak Prescott, the great receivers that they have, and Ezekiel Elliott with a threat to run in the backfield. I think that's only gonna help Dallas's offense, take some of the pressure off of Dak. So I think they go ahead and get Kenyon Green here from Texas A&M.
Yeah, I like that pick as well because, like you said, the Cowboys are rolling when their offensive line's rolling. So, 25 to Buffalo. This Buffalo team is definitely a Super Bowl contender, and I believe that they lost Cole Beasley in the offseason. So, I'm thinking they like to go with a slot guy to kind of fill that role, and I'm thinking Treylon Burks from Arkansas. I think he fits into them well. If you got Josh Allen back there, give him as many weapons as possible. And I think Treylon Burks is a good receiver out of Arkansas for to kind of booster that wide receiver core a little bit, especially since they gave Stephon Diggs that extension. They want to win now, so I think Burks is a good pick there to beef up their offensive firepower.
Well, man, I think Tennessee, the first order of business would be quarterback. After what?
That's not going to happen, I don't think.
In the playoff game. Oh man, this is so tough. I think for Tennessee, well, we might as well give that quarterback some help in the receiver room. I'm going to go Jahan Dotson, the receiver out of Penn State. Give Tannehill all the weapons he needs. I think that's a good fit. Go back-to-back wide receiver here. Well, I'm looking at Green Bay's 28th pick of a guaranteed receiver. It's looking a little bit less.
I was thinking that in my head. I was like, you're taking Dotson here, but hey, I respect it.
I don't know, man. I feel like I don't know. I like it though. Give me Dotson out of Penn State. I think Ryan Tannehill can use all the help he can get. That guy's an absolute burner. So give me Dotson out of Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, the Tennessee losing Julio and having some questions about the receiving core, I think that's a good pick for them as well. With the Bucks here, I'm debating between Booth and Linderbaum, and I think I'm gonna go Linderbaum here. And I think to do this because Tom Brady came back and they want to protect him as well as possible. They lost some O linemen in the offseason, and they gotta have somebody who can step in and help lead. So I think you go Linderbaum here, and Tom Brady's your core asset, so protect him at all costs. So I think you go Linderbaum here, even though Booth would have been nice with their secondary banged up issues that they've had over the past year or two. But I think Linderbaum is a safer pick and prioritizes their top guy, Tom Brady. So.
All right, Eric, you got to scroll and find me a receiver here. I need a name. I need something. Oh my God.
Do you want Sky Moore or no? Christian Watson from North Dakota State.
I want the Bears to draft him. So no.
Pickens.
Ooh. I like Pickens. I like Pickens. I think first round is a little bit too high for him, but I mean he's got so many good intangibles. Massive, 6'3" red zone threat. I like him to Green Bay. I'll take Pickens. I feel like again he tore his ACL before the start of this season, missed almost all, but I think he came back for maybe the SEC championship game and then for sure the national championship game because he had that catch in the end zone in the national championship game. But I like Pickens out of Georgia here. I think he would have been a first round pick. Kind of all on the same lines of Jameson Williams. But obviously Jameson Williams, I think, would have been easily the first wide receiver drafted, probably a top 5 pick if he didn't tear his ACL. But I think Pickens, because of that ACL injury, slipped to the second round. But I think if Green Bay can get him here, as much as I hate to say it, I think it's a really good pick, and I think Rodgers will fall in love with the big body of George Pickens.
All right, so Green Bay finally got their receiver. Might have to scroll down a little bit to get him, but they got him nonetheless. With the Chiefs here at 29, I feel like in this division that they're in, with all these great quarterbacks and great teams, I think you need as much help in the secondary as possible and to defend against their passing games. I'm going Andrew Booth Jr. here. He's been a good corner at Clemson for a few years, and I think he's a guy that's really going to help booster that secondary against Herbert, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr. So good pick for the Chiefs here. I like this a lot with Booth at 29.
Yeah, I like it too. I think they double down on defense here. I think losing Tyrann Mathieu hurts them, so I'm going to go Lewis Cine, the safety out of Georgia. Just another one of these Georgia defenders that goes in the first round, and obviously, so that team was ridiculous this year on the defensive side of the ball. So I think they get Cine to kind of fill the void, or not replace. I don't think you can replace, but fill the void left by Tyrann Mathieu leaving, who's still surprisingly still unsigned up to this point. I figured he would have gotten picked up by now, but I think they go Cine out of Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the situation is with him or with OBJ, to be honest. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But the Bengals at 31. I was gonna take Sign or Scene, however you say it, for the Bengals here. I feel like they did enough in the offseason with their O-line. I think their O-line is okay, where you don't have to go reaching for Penning here. Man, you threw me for a loop a little bit there, to be honest. I think that they realized that they're win now, and I think Nakobe Dean fits that perfectly. He's a fantastic linebacker. Either him or Devin Lloyd were supposed to be the first linebackers taken off the board, and I think the Bengals are happy that Nakobe Dean dropped this low. So I think the Bengals take him to help booster that defense to make another title run next year. So.
And with the final pick.
Yeah, you got both the Lions picks.
First round. Tell me how you feel about this, Eric. Our third quarterback is taken. Desmond Ridder comes off the board at 32 to the Detroit Lions. Kid's a winner. What they did with Cincinnati, or what they were able to do at Cincinnati this year, him and Sauce Gardner. It was history making. Obviously, Willis didn't have the best. Not Willis. Good Lord. Ridder didn't have the best performance against Alabama in the national championship game or the semifinal game. But I think that was kind of to be expected. He's not on the level of Bryce Wilson, and Cincinnati didn't play a defense like that all season long. But I thought Cincinnati, for the most part, held their own. And I think Desmond Ridder gets taken off the board at number 32, last pick of the first round, to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'm hoping either take him with the last pick of the first or the 30. We had the 34th pick too, so 2 picks after that we pick as well. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to necessarily be him, but just a quarterback in general. And I think people hate on him a little bit too much. I love what he did at Cincinnati. I think he's got some great accuracy, ability to move around. I think he's got the intangibles there, and I think he could be a great quarterback down the line in a year or two once Goff's contract expires to get Ridder going. So I actually like that pick. I know some people might not like it, but I agree with you, Brock. I like that pick a lot. So, that was our first round mock draft. I really enjoyed doing that. That was fun. And it was kind of fun to play off each other's picks and do a little alternating action there, because I feel like if we did the side by side one, there'd be some similarities here and there and stuff like that. So, yeah, this was cool. So, how'd you feel about some of your picks there? How confident are you in some of the selections?
I mean, I feel like I don't know. A couple of them, I was like, okay. I mean, I could see it happening. I think Pittsburgh. I think without us doing trades, which obviously no one really knows, I think it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I mean, I'm confident. And some of them, I think. So you really don't like Trevor the Packers one. I think the first one of Karlaftis. I think that's a little bit of a reach, and I think some of these receivers. I think Jamison Williams, where we have him going 13.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good sweet spot. Um, it's going to be interesting to see who gets drafted. It's too bad the Raiders aren't drafting in the first round because they would make some dumb pick that would make no sense and would throw everything off. So I'm glad they traded their pick to Green Bay, but I don't know. I think I don't know. I like it. I think Trevor Penning is one that I think we may have missed on. I've seen a lot of mocks having him go in the top 20, certainly in the first round. So I feel like that could have been a name we left off. But I feel like a lot of these teams that are picking 20 through 32 are a good enough team that it's just going to be spot players, and they're only going to really need one or two pieces that they feel like they really need to put them over the edge. So I mean, I feel like if Trevor Penning were to fall to them, like I mean, I've seen him going to um, um, the Saints with one of their picks, but I feel like if they can get what I have the Saints, I know I had them picking Kenny Pickett. I mean, I feel like if they can get a receiver and a quarterback at 16 and 19, they're not that upset. I have seen them taking Trevor Penning. That's where I thought you were going when you said once you get a quarterback, then what you get him, you usually get someone to protect him. But I like the way you think with Olave. I like that pick. New Orleans certainly does need a receiver. So I think Penning was maybe a name that we missed on. But no, I mean, I like the mock draft. It was a lot of fun, and I feel like a lot of it is, I mean, I feel like there's always a couple prospects every year that slip or that start out the process really high and then fall down the ladder. I mean, Kevon Thibodeau this year, I mean, even Justin Fields last year, I think a lot of people thought he was the second best quarterback in the country. And for him to get picked 11 after which the Trevor Lawrence one I'm fine with, but Zach Wilson and then Trey Lance, I mean, I feel like there's a prospect that just falls every year. And I mean, like I said, I could see if the Panthers don't go quarterback at 6 and go something else, like if Thibodeau's still available, maybe they pivot, go him at 6. I think that opens the door for Pittsburgh to trade up, or even the Saints to trade up and go get a quarterback that they really, really, really want. But I think the Carolina pick at 6 and the Seattle pick at 9, both teams that need a quarterback, I think those are going to be big picks in the draft to see where they go. And if they go completely opposite directions than quarterback, I could see teams willing to trade up and move up or even stay at the same spot. Because I mean, no one really, aside from a handful of teams, really needs a quarterback. And I think they're going to be available for the Saints and Pittsburgh and teams like that lower down in the draft.
Yeah, and I think the big thing too is where the Malik Willis domino falls, and then once that one is gone, I feel like all those teams are gonna trying to hold out to see how long they can wait until they can get the next quarterback. I feel like Malik Willis is the first quarterback on almost everyone's boards, and people are just kind of keeping an eye on to see where he goes. And then after that, you'll wait. I mean, we had Willis 6, and then the next quarterback was Pickett at 16. So whole another 10 picks there with some teams in there that needed quarterbacks as well. But yeah, I think there's some interesting picks here that we made. I think it's kind of crazy to think about Thibodeau dropping to 7. I think Stingley at 11 is a fantastic value snag for Washington. It just says Washington there. It's kind of funny. And I feel like there's got to be a bust in here. I know I picked it myself, but I feel like it's going to be a bust anyway. Jermaine Johnson. I feel like they're willing to take a risk on that guy, and I'm afraid it's going to be like a Clelin Ferrell, who's a decent player, but not a number 4 overall like he was picked out of Clemson.
Good job, Raiders.
So but yeah, I like what we did here. I feel like a lot of teams knowing that the situation with this draft not necessarily being the best draft we had in recent memory. I feel like some of them are going a little bit safer with their picks with some O-line guys or some guys to beef up some secondary rooms. So I like what we did here. I think it was good, and I can legit see this happening tomorrow. So I think it was great.
No, I'm all for it. Like I said, the more good players that I like that are available for the Bears in the second round, I'm all for it. So, I mean, if Trevor Penning wants to fall to the second round, a couple of these offensive linemen want to fall to the second round, a couple more receivers, I'm all for it. I mean, I would love it. I would love to see. I mean, I was personally high on the Bears picking George Pickens. But when you pick, I've seen Treylon Burks go to Green Bay in a lot of mock drafts. So when you picked him at 25 with Buffalo, that was the pivot for me. I was like, damn, I don't know who to give. And I think Tennessee's tough too, because who knows what Tennessee could do. I think I don't know. There's just so many of those teams once you get into the teams like the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Titans, and the Buccaneers, who had really good years last year, they really only need one or two small pieces to make an impact. And I mean, at that point, it's just drafting maybe not best player available, but what best suits your needs as a team. So I mean, yeah, I'm excited. The NFL draft always makes for a lot of excitement, and I think we're in for another treat tomorrow night.
Yeah, I can't wait. As a Lions fan, I'm praying we get Hutchinson, but yeah, I just counted. I think we had 7 wide receivers we picked in our mock draft first round. So that's definitely a huge number there for wide receivers. And I also didn't really realize until thinking about it, but this is a very bad draft for running backs.
Yeah, I think
I didn't even see one on the list.
I think the best two available are Breece Hall from Iowa State and Murray from Michigan State. But yeah, I mean, I feel like none of these teams really need a running back, and there's no Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey in this draft. And I mean, I think whoever gets them in the second round are going to get really good value. But I mean, yeah, the running back is just not that position anymore. I mean, they beat the hell out of you for 4 or 5 years, and then you're lucky to get a second contract. But yeah, no, I think that there's certain position groups that this draft is really deep in. I think offensive linemen, especially offensive tackle and receiver, that it's really deep. So I mean, even if these teams aren't able to get one of those two positions in the first round or even the second round, there's still going to be quality available in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th to keep an eye out for. So, I mean, if you watch the NFL draft past like round 4, you're a real one anyway. But I mean, if your team that's at the end of the first round, your team hasn't drafted the position the position you need the most yet, I wouldn't worry too much. Because like I said, especially at receiver and offensive lineman, that it seems like it's a pretty deep class, and you can get talent in a lot of rounds. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to play out. I think, like you said, I think that once the Malik Willis domino falls and the wide receiver domino falls, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens after that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a big draft for edge rushers too. I mean, we had 4 here in the top 10 picks, so a big draft for some of those guys who can take some pressure off of your main edge rusher, or like guys like Walker, Hutchinson, who or even Thibodeau, who can be some future stars. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'll put the full mock draft thing, because you can't see it all here on the screen at once, on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GoneProPod. Again, we appreciate everything. We appreciate you guys listening to this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed listening along to our mock draft as much as we enjoyed making it, because this was pretty sweet, and I'm looking forward to the NBA one. So thank you guys for listening. As always, we appreciate it. We'll be back probably next week. We'll talk about some the NBA series wrapping up, how we feel about the second round, Maybe we'll give some NFL draft reactions and stuff like that. So it should be a good time. Thank you, everyone, and hope you have a great day or night or whenever you're listening. Peace out.